Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. What if you had a surefire way to get your body moving correctly? And one of the things that I found is if we can get the body to move correctly, the hands, the arms, the club will follow right along. If I try to get the ball to go where I want it to go, if I try to get my hands and arms and club to move the way I want those to move, but my body's not moving correctly. Maybe I'm swaying to the right and swaying to the left. Maybe I'm losing my posture. One of several things that could happen if we're not moving our body correctly. It's going to be almost impossible to get the ball to go the direction we want it to go day in and day out. Well, I have a surefire way, a step-by-step system that I'm going to lead you through in this video. It's going to make your body move perfectly, and then we can just add the arms and club like we're going to get to later in this video, and man, you're going to hit a lot of great shots. One thing to keep in mind, this is absolutely not a beginner video. This is the same thing that I would do if I'm practicing myself. Now this is broke down in a way where if you've never even swung a golf club in your life, you could follow right along with this and get a ton out of it. But don't mistake this for being too easy or too simple. The best golfers in the world, scratch golfers, anybody that's playing some great golf is going to get a lot of benefit out of this. So let's grab a club, stand up in your living room right now, and let's go ahead, follow along with me. We're going to get a lot of great work done. All right, so let's jump right into it. And the first thing I want to do, as I mentioned, is I want to build my body working in the correct way. And that all starts with golf is a rotational sport. So go ahead and grab a club right from your living room, put it across your shoulders. I want to put it up here on the top of my shoulders and have my fingertips kind of touching the edge of my shoulders here. And what I want to focus on is standing straight up and down and getting used to the rotational piece of this. Now, all these drills we're going to go through today, I want you to get in 5 reps of this. You're going to work right along with me. I'm going to give you some key checkpoints to hit. And if you follow these, you're going to be well on your way to making some great golf swings, building that muscle memory, building your body working in the correct way. So let's go ahead and grab a club, put it across our shoulders. As I stand straight up and down, the first thing I want to do is get that club pointing at least 90 degrees or 90 degrees of rotation going in the backswing and then the forward swing. Now here, I'm letting this club go ahead and rotate level with the ground. So again, we're going to get in 4 or 5 reps here. You'll notice my left foot starts to lift up a little bit in the backswing. My right foot lifts up a little bit in the forward swing. As I come on through, I'm going to get a little bit more than 90 degrees, and I'm going to get this right side of my shoulder, this right shoulder pointing as far down the fairway as I can. Now that can only happen if I let my hips swivel. That can only happen if I let my feet move a little bit on the ground. So many times I see players get locked in, they don't want to move their feet at all, and now I get really bound up. I got to go ahead and let my feet move and let my shoulders, my hips rotate back and through. That's really the basis of the golf swing. If I can get that rotation, everything else is built on top of that. Now from here, we're simply going to take that same rotation and we're just going to hinge forward. So if I'm coming level with the ground, imagine this being a plane of glass as I'm rotating back and through. In the golf swing, all we're doing is we're hinging forward. So now that plane of glass is tilted down toward the ground. Imagine a window here, anywhere between from where I would be hitting the golf ball to say 2 or 3 feet outside of that. And I want to imagine this club or this plane of glass being tilted down toward that. And now as I rotate back and through, I want my club to be pointing in that zone. So again here, letting my foot lift up. As I come back, I'm getting at least 90 degrees of shoulder turn. As I come on through, I'm getting past 90 degrees, letting my right foot come on up. I'm staying in my posture here. I don't want to come all the way to my complete finish. I'm just going to stay in my posture where that club is rotating on that same plane of glass back and through. So again, I'm going to go ahead and get 4 or 5 reps as I'm doing this, rotating back and through, making sure that my club is pointing on the ground, almost imagining a line going back and through toward my target, and my club is just going to trace that line as I come back and through. That's getting my body to stay in its posture. That's getting me to rotate. That's really building the foundation of what is a golf swing. So as I really ingrain this, that's going to make golf a lot simpler. It's going to make me more consistent. And because I got good rotation, it's also going to give me a lot of power. Now the next piece of this, I need to add a little bit of weight shift. In the golf swing, there's a weight shift to the right and there's a weight shift to the left in the downswing. I can do the same thing as I'm rotating with this club on my shoulders. Again, hinge forward, get that club pointing somewhere slightly outside of what would be the golf ball. And as I come to my backswing, I want to pause as I'm at the top of my backswing. And if I had this club drop straight down, it would kind of hit on the inside of my left leg. So imagine if I was just to drop this straight down, you kind of hit on the inside of my left foot here, if my leg wasn't in the way, that club would drop down and hit the ground about right there. What I don't want to do is I don't want to sway to the right and go way over here. That club would drop down way outside my foot. That would be too much movement laterally. I'd get inconsistent because my eyes are moving too far to the right and I'd have to move them back to the left on the downswing. I don't also want to have a reverse pivot, which would be something more like this, whereas if I drop that club, it would be hitting more over toward my left foot. Again, that's going to create inconsistency because now I'm coming back to the left in my backswing. I'm going to have to fall to the right in my downswing, plus I'm going to lose a lot of power as I'm doing that. So that's the next piece. Let's go ahead and grab that club again, do another 4 or 5 reps right along with me. Good rotation, club over the right instep of my right foot. As I come through now, the club is going to be on the instep of my left foot. So I've let my weight shift to the left. My right toe has swiveled off the ground. And now I'm getting at least that 90 degrees of turn as I'm staying in my posture. Again, let's go ahead and rotate back. Let your left foot lift a little bit. Rotate through, let your right foot pivot or rotate on around. Make sure you get that good turn. If you want to go a little extra, maybe you're a little bit more flexible, go to whatever the range of flexibility you have is completely fine. I'm going to go ahead and go a little past that if I can. As I come through, I'm going to go a little past that. As long as I keep my club pointing to the ground, then I'm completely fine. I can go as far as my range of motion will let me. So if you're a little bit tighter, you may not go as far, but go as far as you can. So until now, what we've done is we've rotated these hips, we've let our legs move properly, and we let our shoulders go. Let's really open up our chest and the last piece of our shoulders, which would be protraction and retraction of our shoulders. So protraction means that my shoulders are coming forward. Retraction means my shoulders are coming back. We really want to maximize this in the golf swing to get every ounce of club head speed we can get, making golf as easy as we can. So what I want you to do here is let's set up and do what I call the lawnmower drill. Let's get our hands in front. And what I want to imagine again is, here my hands are level, I'd be rotating level with the ground. Let's go ahead and tilt forward until I'll be rotating kind of on that plane again, just like we did with the club. And I want to go ahead and grab here. Imagine I'm grabbing a lawnmower, kind of a cord that I would start a lawnmower with. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pull this lawnmower back, and I'm going to pull it all the way back up to my chest. I'm going to go as far back as I can with my elbow going up. So what this has done is that's really opened up my right shoulder. I've retracted my right shoulder to really help me load up in the backswing. So I'm going as far as I can, and then I'm going to go ahead and let my arm come all the way back. As I come down, I'll let my arm swing down. And then from there, as I get to impact, or what would be impact, I'm going ahead and let my hips open up. And then I'm taking the left hand, just like a lawnmower, and I'm going to pull it coming all the way on through. So again, we're getting 4 or 5 reps in with this. Really let that come back as far as you can. Open up the chest, let the right side of the chest retract, and then extend your arm as far as you can. Maybe you can only go to here. Maybe you're not going to get as far. Maybe if you're a little more flexible, you can open up your chest even a little bit more and get it facing the sky. I'm not that flexible, but some of you may be. Let that open up. And then as I come down, let my arms come together. That would be impact. And then open up the left side of it. Again, I'm staying in my posture as I'm doing this. Really letting my shoulders open up. Impact. And then I'm coming through and opening up. Now let's make this a little bit more like a golf swing instead of the lawnmower action. The lawnmower really opened us up. Let's make this a little bit more accurate now. So we talked about how, I could put my arms out and rotate this way, and I'm just going to hinge forward. Let's do the same thing here now. So as I come to the top of the backswing, I'm going to go ahead and rotate all around. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my arms to stay 90 degrees with my shoulders. So as my shoulders rotate, my arms rotate. And from there, I'm going to try to get my left arm pointing as far behind the golf ball as I can, or the imaginary golf ball there. My right arm is going to go as far behind me as I can. Now from there, as I start my downswing, I want to go ahead and turn that hand down. This will be what we call covering the golf ball, getting some forward shuffling, getting some lag. This is really important to square the face up earlier. I'll get to that later in this video, but I want to go ahead and go to the top and then square up my hands. So my left hand, my logo of my glove, points down to the ground. If this was what's called flexion, meaning that I'm taking the palm of my hand, putting it back toward my body, that's what I would feel there. So that's flexion. As I turn that hand down, the palm of my hand is facing toward my chest. If I'm doing my right hand, instead of having it open here, I'm going to have the palm bent back and facing away from me. So again, it's that what would be extension of the right hand, or the knuckles of my right hand facing back toward me. So I go to the top of the swing, I do my squaring of the club face, palm of my left hand toward my chest, knuckles of my right hand going back. I'm coming down to impact. So if I meet those two hands up here, that would be what would be forward shaft lean in the golf swing. And the driver, we're behind that driver, it actually still has a little bit of forward shaft lean because we're behind it, we're releasing in front. That's gonna make it pretty much straight up and down. We'll get to that here in a second when we add the club. But I'm coming down to impact, and then from there, I'm rotating all the way around. Again, my hand is facing my chest, my knuckles of my right hand are kind of facing back at me, and I'm rotating all the way on through. So again, I'm starting out with my hands kind of 90 degrees, full backswing. Before I start my downswing, I'm gonna get my hands in the position where it's early squaring of the club face. That's what we call the move in the top speed golf system. I'm coming down to impact, and then I'm letting that extend on through. Arms out, square the face, come down to impact, come all the way on through. So again, my hands are doing this motion as I'm squaring that face. What I don't want to do is I don't want to do this motion, which would be the opposite direction. That would be the flip or the cast that's early from the top. I want to have my hands back. So rotate to the top, hands back, come to impact, hands all the way on through. Do a good 5 to 10 reps of those, get comfortable with that, then let's add the club. Now I've built how my body wants to move. I've built how my arms and hands want to move. Let's just add the club, and this gets very simple now. So as I add this golf club, let's go ahead and put a tee in the ground here. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna let those hands and arms rotate, my chest rotate, and I'm gonna pull that club to the top of the swing. As I start down, I'm gonna square that club face up. That would be the bowing of the left wrist, the palm coming back toward my chest, my right hand kind of extending where the knuckles are back, and that's gonna square the club face up early. So let me show you what this looks like. I go to the top, I square that club face early, and you'll see how my club head starts to turn down where it's facing the golf ball. That's what the pros are doing to square that face up, hit that nice draw, and really compress the golf ball. The opposite of that would be, instead of squaring this face up here, I have my wrist the other way, and now my face is wide open. That's gonna be that over the top slice. From there, I'd wanna come this way, my face is open, the ball's gonna go up in the air, it's gonna slice over into the woods on the right side of the fairway. So I wanna make sure, make that big turn, square the face, come down to contact, and then all the way on through. This is the first time you're gonna come to your finish. So as we do this again, good full turn going back, square the face, come all the way on through to the good full finish. Now my right shoulder's coming around to the fairway as far as I can get it to go. I'm balanced over my left foot. So if you'll see here, I could pick up my right foot and I'd still be facing the fairway. My belt buckle is facing the fairway. My chest, as I do this, is nice and high. So good turn back, square the face, come all the way on through, and now my chest is facing up toward the sky. I can really rotate on around. My chin is nice and high, and that ensures that I'm completing my swing. What I don't want to do is square the face, come down, and then stay down here. I've stopped my swing. I'm just all hands and arms coming on through. I want to get my body rotating all the way on around, completing that good full finish. That can only happen if my right foot comes completely off the ground. I have to be all the way up on the toe to get that to rotate all the way around there. I really want to feel like I'm balanced on my left foot. So as you do this, feel like you hold that finish for a good 3 seconds. So I'm all the way rotated around. Again, balance on my left leg. You'll notice how here, if I was to go ahead and stay on this left foot, I could stay here all day. It's almost like I'm facing the target. The only difference is my feet are pointing in a different direction. So do a few more reps of that. Full turn back, square the face, full finish, hold your finish for a good 3 seconds. And when I say hold your finish, it doesn't mean you have to hold the club in your finish. You can let the club relax. I'm holding my feet, my hips, my chest, my body, watching that ball go down the middle of the fairway. Now let's make this a little bit more fluid. Same key checkpoints. Hinging forward, I'm gonna rotate back and through. This time I'm not gonna pause. I'm not going to the top and pausing. I'm not squaring up the face and pausing. And then I'm not coming all the way on through and pausing. Well, actually at the finish I am pausing. But as I come on back, I'm just gonna make this all one fluid motion. So let's see what that looks like. Again, good full shoulder turn. As I come on through, I'm gonna hold that finish for 3 seconds. I want to put a tee in the ground, and I'm actually going to clip that tee. If you're in your living room, that's completely fine. Just imagine there's a tee in the way. You don't have to actually hit the tee out of the ground. If I'm out on the driving range, don't add a ball yet. Get used to making this swing without hitting a golf ball. Just feel like you clip the tee out of the ground. Turn back, turn through, hold my finish. I don't want to lose my finish for at least 3 seconds. And I'm going to repeat this a good 4 or 5 times. Again, I'll go without the tee. Again, making a big full turn, squaring the hands, and then coming on through. So I put that all together. Nice swing, hold the finish for 3 seconds. Let my feet rotate, both on the back swing. So as my left heel may lift a little bit, my hips are rotating, my shoulders are rotating. As I come on through, this is a big key, let that right foot come all the way on around. So again, without any pauses, hold that finish for 3 seconds, and you're well on your way to building that muscle memory. Now let's go ahead and add the golf ball. All right, so now we're gonna hit a golf ball with this. I'm gonna hit a few on my flight scope, and I'm just gonna talk about the same key checkpoints. So again, as I'm hitting a golf ball now, I'm just running through exactly what we've done. I'm hinging forward, I'm making sure I've got a good turn going back and through, and really finishing my swing hold for 3 seconds. All right, so that was a nice shot where you see that I held my follow through. On this one, instead of focusing on the turn back and through, now I'm going to focus on squaring up that club face. So again, I go to the top, I square the face, and then I rotate on through. If I square that face early, it's going to help me to compress the golf ball, hit a bit of a better draw on this one, and really get some compression on this golf ball. Again, hold your finish, 1, 2, 3 seconds. And then finally, I'm going to focus on my follow through. So for here, I'm really going to work on holding that finish with my chest nice and high, completing my swing, staying completely in balance for that 3 seconds. So when I finish my swing here, I want to be able to pick up my left foot, stay completely in balance until that ball lands. That's going to help me to stay really centered in my body, be much more consistent when I'm doing this, but still get a lot of power because I'm finishing my backswing and I'm finishing my follow through. What do we do when the driver is absolutely not working at all? It's going all over the place. Maybe you're playing the first round with a new playing partner, a coworker, somebody that you want to impress, maybe your boss, and you show up to the range that day, the driver is absolutely going everywhere. You're hooking it, you're slicing it, you're hitting it thin, you're hitting it, popping it up, doing all kinds of crazy stuff with the driver that you normally don't do, and you're really worried about it. Maybe you're about to tee off in your club championship or a local tournament, and this is happening to you. It's really kind of freaks you out. You're kind of worried, and you're thinking, oh man, this is going to be a terrible day. Well, I'm going to give you 4 surefire tips. When you're having that bad day with the driver, you follow these, you're going to get right back on track. Let's go and get started. All right, so tip number 1, we want to choke up on this driver. So if we're having trouble with this and we're really having the ball go a lot of different ways, one of the easiest ways to do this is to choke up. Now I recommend taking your hand, and the bottom of your pinky should be about 2 inches or so from the bottom of the grip. That's a good amount to choke up. If we go way choked up like this, we're almost down on the shaft itself, off the grip, then we're gonna lose so much speed, it's gonna be tough to get any kind of distance. So I wanna choke up just a little bit to get more control of the head and to be able to feel the driver face a little bit better. But the downside of this is it is gonna hurt our distance a little bit. So let's go ahead and hit one here with my flight scope, and we'll see what the distance is choking up on the driver, and then I'll hit another one full speed and see what happens there. So here's the choked up driver. Let's see how far this one goes. There we go, right down the left side of the fairway. I hit that one really solid, so I think my numbers are gonna be pretty good, but we'll notice my club head speed is probably a little bit down. So if I take a look at my flight scope, we're gonna see my club head speed was 114. I mean, I absolutely killed that thing though, hit it dead solid. 282 carry after the rollout, 313 total distance. So it's not like I'm losing a ton, but I am gonna lose, let's say 2 or 3 miles an hour of club head speed by choking up on the grip a couple inches there. But what this does, the reason this works, is when I choke up, I'm essentially getting the club head closer to my hands, and now I have more control of the club head. It's like swinging a children's club. You have this little short club that feels really easy to swing. You're probably not ever gonna miss the fairway using a junior club. you're just not going to hit it as far as you do your normal driver. So that's the first tip, choke up on this. Now the second tip, I want to make sure, again, I can feel the club head. I can feel the face of this club. When the driver isn't working, about 85% of the direction that ball starts is dictated by the face. So if that ball starts way to the right or way to the left, that's because the face is open and closed. So the better we can feel this face, the easier the day is going to be. Now, a great trick to help you feel the face when the things are off, when your timing's off, is to flip that club upside down and make about 4 or 5 practice swings, keeping your hands really light, trying to feel the grip end of the club. So I'm holding it at the very end of the shaft with the grip pointing down, and I'm making 4 or 5 little practice swings here. And what this is doing, this shaft is so much lighter than the club head. When I flip this back over, now I'm really going to be able to feel where the club head is. The last thing you want to do is grab 2 or 3 clubs. Sometimes I'll see people grab 2 or 3 irons, hold them all together and swing those to loosen up. Because that's so heavy, when I have 2 or 3 clubs in my hand, I'm going to lose feeling for where the driver face is, and that's going to make the club go, or the ball go all over the place. So 4 or 5 swings, just a few swings to get loose, to really feel light with your grip, and then turn that club over, and I want you to do a couple things for me. Number one, we're going to release that face a little bit more. So I want you to make 3 or 4 practice swings, releasing the face, getting those hands to turn over a little bit more. That would be your draw swing. Now I can start to feel that face turning over, and then I'm going to have 2 or 3 swings where I feel the face a little bit more open, which would be my fade swing. So again, you're not having to hit shots here. You're just getting a feel for the face, getting a feel for releasing the club a little bit more. If you're struggling slicing it too much, that's what you're going to want to feel. If you're struggling hooking the ball, you're going to feel having the face a little bit more open. Now let's go ahead and hit one with my normal swing speed, and let's see how much distance we gain or lose, or my normal length of my grip here. So the first one, I swung, I believe, 113 or so, and I hit it so solid, it went 313. Let's see if I can get a little bit more swing speed now with my club all the way on the end here, and see how that affects how far this ball goes. All right, there we go. So that one, again, down the middle of the fairway, but I didn't hit that one quite as solid as the one that I choked up. I'm not loose out here today yet either. This is the first video of the day. So I'm not always going to be hitting the driver dead solid right off the bat, just like everybody else. So on that one, I had 3 miles an hour extra clubhead speed, but you'll see 276 carry, about 7 yards shorter than the one that I actually swung slower and I choked up on the club, and 295, so 15, actually a little bit more, a little bit closer to 18 yards shorter on that one, even though my clubhead speed was higher. So if you're having a tough time hitting it solid and controlling where the ball goes, just choke up on that a little bit. Now the next thing we're going to do here to really get a feel for this is the step drill. So what I want you to feel, when I'm struggling to hit the ball solid, usually my weight shift is off. Sometimes I'll be falling back, falling away from the golf ball. You start to get those tops, you start to get the balls that go up in the air, a lot of inconsistencies with that. And sometimes I really just feel awkward, like I'm having to use all hands and arms because my weight shift isn't good. So let's do a surefire drill. It's gonna make this really, really easy. I want you to set up with your feet together. I'm gonna have the club kind of hovering over the ground. Now, as soon as I start my club swinging back, I'm gonna go ahead and start stepping forward. What this is gonna ensure that I do is, as my left foot is in the air, so let's go ahead and do one little small swing so you can see what this looks like. But as my left foot is in the air, that ensures that all my weight is on my right side. That's the backswing. As I'm making this backswing, I have to shift my weight to the right side, and as I make my downswing, I have to shift my weight to the left side. There's tons of research out there showing pressure plates. So they have these plates that they put under your feet to see how people shift their weight. I have never seen one great player that doesn't shift their weight to the right on the backswing and shift their weight to the left on the downswing. Lots of people say, oh, I feel like I'm centered, staying on my left, or they're keeping their weight left the entire time. When you put this to the test, when you look at the science behind this, that's simply not happened. Every player has a weight shift to the right and a weight shift to the left. If I cheat it by doing this drill, it makes it way easier. So as I keep my feet together, as soon as my left foot lifts up, my right foot is the only foot on the ground, so it has to be a weight shift to the right. There has to be all my pressure to the right. Now, as I step forward, the only way to get my foot to move forward is to have a weight shift to the left. And then as I let my foot push into the ground on the downswing, I'm gonna let my right foot come all the way up on the ground here. So just my toe of my right foot is on the ground. That ensures that all my weight is on my left. So if you do this drill, there's really no way to mess this up. As long as we get the timing right, it's just a surefire way to get your weight shift nailed every time. So start with your feet together. The key trick here is as soon as you start your backswing, that's when you want to begin this step forward. What I don't want to do is get all the way to the top of my backswing and then step forward on my downswing. I'm stepping forward as soon as I start my swing, and then as I finish, I'm making sure my toe is all the way on the ground and my chest is rotated all the way around. I'm finishing over my left foot and really pausing there for a second or two so that you can make sure that you're in balance. Do 4 or 5 of those while you're on the range. While you're on the first tee, I guarantee you it's going to be way easier to hit straighter shots. Now finally here, the last key is, what is your go-to shot? Everybody has one type of shot, whether it's a fade or a draw, that they can hit time after time. Now for me, if I have to get one in the fairway, it's a little easier for me to do a fade. The problem is I lose a little bit of distance when I'm doing that, but if I'm hitting the ball pretty wild and it's the first couple holes, I want to make sure I get some in the fairway, I'm going to tee that ball up a little bit lower. What that's going to do, it's going to ensure that I don't hook it. It's very tough for me to hook the ball when the ball is teed up really low. So I'm going to tee it up a little bit lower. If this is my normal height, I'm just going to go about a ½ inch lower than normal. And then I feel like I'm going to hit a fade out there. So let's put all 3 together. Number 1, I'm going to choke up. I've done my drills where I swing the club head nice and light. I got a feel for the face. For me, again, I'm done my step drills to feel my weight shift. And now I'm going to play my go-to shot, or if I had to bet $1,000, what would I be willing to say, hey, I'm going to be able to hit this one pretty good. I'll bet you $1,000 I can do this. That's my go-to shot. So this one's going to be a fade. I'm going to lose a little bit of distance, but I'm going to find that first fairway. All right, right down the right center. I hit that one nice. Follow those 4 steps. You're going to get started with some more confidence, and you're going to hit a lot more fairways. Great to have you here today, and in this video I'm going to talk about really the one tip, my kind of favorite drill that I do, or the favorite feeling that I have when the driver gets off track. Now let's talk about a couple things that's going to happen when you're hitting your driver well. You really want to make sure that you load up, and even if you're inflexible, I want my hips to turn, and a good way to do this is to feel like I soften up my lead heel a little bit. So as I turn back, I want my lead heel just to barely come off the ground a little bit. And for me, the number 1 tip that I like to feel here is to feel like someone has tied, usually on the outside of your pants, there's a belt loop or something like that. I want to feel like someone's standing about 45 degrees behind me and to the right, and they have a string that's tied to my left hip. And there's also a person that's directly behind me this way, and they have a string, this same string tied to my left hip. And in the backswing, I'm going to feel like this person back here pulls that string and gets my hips to rotate. Now that is so important, and so many players that I see don't do enough with the hips, and what ends up happening is we do all arms. So we pick up the club with the arms in the backswing, and now there's so much effort because it's just an all arms downswing. We start to cast. A lot of times you'll find yourself kind of standing up out of your posture and throwing the club at it. A lot of that stems from the root cause is not getting the body to turn. So I want to imagine, again, this guy back here has this string tied to me, and as I go into my backswing, he's going to pull that left hip. And what I feel like as I get my left butt cheek behind the golf ball, as silly as that sounds, that's a sensation for me that feels like I'm going to be very powerful. Now, it's not going to happen, but I feel like my butt cheek here is getting behind that golf ball. And then in the downswing, this person with the string on this side is going to yank that string back the other way. So what that does here is, now that I get my cheek behind the ball, I'm really loaded up. I've softened up my lower body to allow me to be more flexible, and I feel very powerful. Now, a big key here is, just because you're loaded up more doesn't mean that I have to just thrash at it and I'm going to go out of control. I want to load up and then be very smooth. So let me go ahead and hit a nice easy one here, or what feels like a nice smooth, easy swing. I'm going to load up really well, and then I'm just going to have a big turn and smooth it out there. Now that ball went a long way. I didn't feel like I swung very hard, but that ball was hit pretty well and it had a lot of ball speed on it. It didn't feel like I had to rush it. Now, if I would have picked it up with all arms, this guy hadn't pulled that string, I hadn't gotten that cheek behind the ball, now I would have had to stand up and kind of throw and lash at it. It would have felt like a lot of effort, but the swing speed wouldn't have been as high. So let's try that out again a few times. And again, in practice swings, I'm just gonna be this cheek turning behind the golf ball. Now, in the downswing, what I wanna feel like again is this one is turning out of the way. So I wanna feel like almost like somebody's on my back, somebody's on my left shoulder. That guy has the string back here. And as I start my downswing, I'm starting it by getting this to turn back behind my body. Now when I do that, that again helps me to not stand up. When I stand up, that's me locking my lower body and not using it to rotate. When you stand up, your knees extend. When your knees extend, you can't rotate out of the way. So try this for me. Extend your legs, lock your knees, and try to rotate your hips. You can't do it. There's no muscles there to be able to rotate the hips that can activate. Everything's already activated fully. When I straighten my knees, I can't rotate my hips. But then the opposite feeling would be that guy pulling that string to start the downswing. I keep my knees flexed, and now everything's rotating through. That's what the pro players are doing when you see them open their body, getting the body leading the way, and then the arms are gonna swing much more effortlessly. So in a nutshell, it's just that cheek behind the ball on the way back, and then I almost feel like there's a guy with a rope back here, someone on my back, or if I wanna stick with the butt cheek idea, there's almost a wall back here, and I'm gonna kinda throw my left hip, my left butt cheek into that wall, really clear that out of the way to start my downswing. And that gets everything opening up so I can really extend those arms through the ball. But I find it's the core, it's the lower body that I like to start with when things get off track. And if I can do that, I can get a whole lot of swing speed, a lot of distance, but it doesn't feel like I have to put out that much effort. Let's give it another whirl. There we go, not gonna hit much better than that. Now, one thing when we're doing this, when we get that body more active, a lot of players never learn to square up the face. So sometimes when we start with that body rotating in the downswing, if we imagine this club face here, it stays open. So you can see how my face is pointing way out to the right. Now, we wanna learn the right way, what the pros are doing to square the face. A lot of players are squaring the face by flipping the club. So the face is really open, and then we square it up by casting and flipping with our hands and our arms. Now that does square the face up, but that ends up getting us casting like this. The right way to square the club is a special move with the wrist by doing this. You can see how now that face is opening and closing as I'm doing this, but it's a wrist motion. It's not this one. It's more like this. And there's a specific way you want to feel this in your left hand, even in your right hand. And I have a great drill. It just makes it intuitive. It's called the tennis racket drill. And when you visualize moving a tennis racket the certain way I'm going to show you, it makes it really easy. Now when you open up your body, that face is going to be square, and you're getting that nice draw. Not only that, you're getting the compression or that pop. Sometimes you'll hear somebody hit a shot and it just kind of pops off the face. It explodes. It has more speed to it, even though it doesn't look like they're hitting it that hard. A lot of that is coming from the specific way that pros are squaring the club face with their wrist in the downswing. When you put these two things together, I get my lower body moving more, and then I start to square my wrist up so I always have that ball going straight or slightly turning over from right to left, or really just not having a ton of movement on it. I can swing as hard as I want to, I can be as aggressive as I want to, and I know I'm going to hit a good solid shot. So I'm going to play a preview of that tennis racket drill. It's going to show you this wrist move here in a second. All you need to do is go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen. And if you don't see the card, no worries at all. Just click the link down below in the description. And I can't wait to show you this. I know it's going to help your game a ton. So best of luck, and I'll see you in the tennis racket drill. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it, the flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that, and then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane, and at the same time, I'm going to be